Yes, guys, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Big Dave. And it is Monday morning, which means it is time for an update on how all our loan players got on this weekend at their temporary homes. And there is an update on Luka Vuskovic, who, of course, is on loan in Poland right now. And we've got our dear friend Michael giving us updates every week from now on how Luka Vuskovic is getting on out there. If there is anyone from Sweden that wants to get involved, feel free to let me know how Bergvall is getting on out there in Djurgårdens. It's one where I really struggle to find the information for some reason. But look, happy Monday morning to you guys. Hopefully you all had a great weekend. Hopefully you didn't get asked to do too much around the house like I did. Let's get straight into it and find out how our players have done. Now, as always, I do like to start with my boy Alfie Phillips, and there's 2 games to report to you this week for the big man, but I would say not the best of weeks for him. Phillips did play the full 90 minutes in Plymouth's 3-0 loss to West Brom on Tuesday night. He was moved back out to the right of a back 3 after playing in the middle of a back 3 last week, which I actually thought really suited him. In the second minute of the game, Phillips produced a potential goal-saving block, deflecting Moat's shot just wide of the post. No player registered more tackles or clearances in the loss to West Brom than Phillips did. Here was the assessment of Plymouth Live, who handed Phillips a match rating of 5, and here's what they had to say. Opposition teams are having success when cutting in from their left, Argyle's right, and scoring with angled shots. As the player on the right of the Pilgrims' defensive trio, Phillips needs to be more aware of that. There was an opportunity for him to close down Mickey Johnston before his shot made to score 2-0 in the 76th minute. Now, those of you who listen week in, week out, this is something that I have highlighted a couple of times over the last few weeks when it comes to Phillips backing off, dropping off, allowing them to shoot instead of getting out there and closing down. And it is a trait that Eric Dyer used to do very regularly for Tottenham that really used to irk me. Hopefully he hasn't picked up that bad trait off him. But I would say it's probably the only weakness that I have really seen to Phillips' game that he really needs to work on. And as you can see here on the right-hand side of your picture, Phillips did not start for Plymouth for the first time since his loan move in Plymouth's 2-0 win over Middlesbrough on Saturday. He came off the bench on 85 minutes, taking his place in the right side of a back 3. Now, on to the reason why Alfie Phillips was dropped, and I've done a bit of digging into this, and I don't think it is because Ian Foster is losing faith in Alfie Phillips, because he only singled him out for some praise last week. Phillips has played 9 successive games since joining on loan from Tottenham Hotspur in early January, and after the recent busy fixture schedule, it was definitely time for Phillips to be given a break. But also, let's not forget, Foster did tell us last week that Phillips was suffering from cramp and muscle fatigue, so I'd say that is more the reason why he was probably rested. But Alfie Phillips is developing out on loan, showing his potential, looking very, very comfortable in the Championship. Guys, I want to know off you, what should be the next step for Alfie Phillips? Should we try and find him a loan to a Premier League club next year where maybe he's going to get a lot of opportunities? Or do we keep him as part of our squad, knowing that we should be challenging on all 4 fronts next season and add a bit of depth at centre-back? So please let me know. Moving on to his partner in crime at Plymouth, and that is Alfie Devine, and another 2 games to report to you this week on Alfie, and not the best of weeks for Devine either, after coming in for a lot of praise from Plymouth manager Ian Foster last week. Devine also played in Plymouth's 3-0 loss to West Brom on Tuesday night, playing 79 minutes before being taken off as part of a triple substitution. Devine is playing as one of 2 number 10s in Plymouth's system, but struggled to have any influence on the game, only having 26 touches in 79 minutes. And here was the assessment of Plymouth Live, who handed Alfie Devine a match rating of 4, saying, a lot is expected of the 19-year-old playing in one of the 2 number 10 positions, and he needs to come up with more attacking output because he is not influencing games enough at the moment. I think a very, very fair assessment from Plymouth Live, and something that Alfie Devine alluded to in the post-match interview last week, sort of saying he hasn't been happy with what he's produced at Plymouth so far. And let's not forget that the reason why Devine was brought to Plymouth in the first place was to add creativity, was to add more goals to their team, and it is something that Devine has struggled to do, really impact games going forward on a consistent basis, and that is something he needs to learn to bring to his game. Right now, it's sort of he goes missing one game and then does well the next game. He really does need to add that consistency to his performance. But like Alfie Phillips, Devine also started on the bench in Plymouth's 2-0 win over Middlesbrough on Saturday, coming off the bench on the 73rd minute. Now, the reason why Devine did not start was not because he needed a rest like Ashley Phillips after a busy sort of fixture schedule. Let's not forget Devine was cup tied for some of those FA Cup games, so there's no reason that he's tired whatsoever. But I do believe the Plymouth manager changed the system in midfield and up front, and Devine was one of those casualties. And look, let's not forget that dropping Devine after a real bad performance midweek would have really hurt Ian Foster, who's a big fan of Alfie Devine, worked with him in the England underage setup, and he knows how good he can be. But it'll be very, very interesting to see Plymouth's next lineup. I think it'd be very telling whether it was a system change for a specific game or whether Devine has a lot more work to do to get back into that Plymouth lineup. Moving on to my countryman, Josh Keeley, and there's 2 games to report to you on Keeley today. So Keeley made his 8th consecutive start for Barnet on Tuesday night as they lost 1-0 to Aldershot. Keeley was absolutely brilliant on the night, being called into action regularly. Keeley showcasing great reflexes, producing a number of acrobatic saves on the night, and showed great bravery for the disallowed goal. The ball came across the box. Keeley dived out at the on-rushing striker's feet, claimed the ball, and ended up being kicked out of his hands, which the referee gave the benefit of doubt to Keeley and gave him the free kick out, which I do think it was. And Keeley done absolutely everything to try and keep Barnet in the game. It's a night where they're absolutely being pummeled and under the pump. Unfortunately, his heroics was not enough, as Keeley was finally beaten on the 85th minute and was very unlucky. It was basically a volley that Keeley was going to save, and just before it reached him, it deflected off the back of an Aldershot player and went completely opposite way. However, it was a very solid showing from Keeley despite the loss that tested all areas of these games, that showed Keeley was equal to everything thrown at him from all angles. Keeley was also back in action on Saturday, starting his 9th consecutive start since joining on loan and keeping a clean sheet in Barnet's 2-0 win over York City. Now, unlike Tuesday night, this was a very quiet day for Keeley between the sticks, having very little to do and rarely tested, as Barnet kept York to limited chances, but Keeley did have 2 moments of note. One thing I've really raved about Keeley is his distribution for such a young goalkeeper, and he did have a hand in Barnett's second goal, as he did take the free kick deep in his own half, delivered a perfectly weighted, executed long ball up to their striker's head, who just flicked it on, where the other striker on rushing went home and dispatched it. But it was absolutely brilliant and accurate from Josh Keeley. Keeley was also called into action on the 69th minute, producing a goal-saving save as York were pushing to get back in the game as they were trailing 2-0. So a very good week for my fellow countryman Josh Keeley, who really seems to be benefiting from back-to-back games. And the Barnet manager quite regularly praises him or calls him out for a mistake, which Keeley comes back the next week with all the answers. Now, moving on to Manel Craig, who of course is on loan at Doncaster Rovers, and Craig started and completed 90 minutes in Doncaster Rovers' 1-0 win over Wimbledon on Saturday. Craig put in another solid display after scoring his first goal last week, completing 73% of his passes, winning all 11 of his ground duels, making 1 block and 5 tackles. Here was the assessment of Doncaster Free Press player ratings, who handed Craig a match rating of 8, saying, another assured display, although there was the odd misplaced pass to be expected as he continues to learn his trade. A vital interception was key to starting the move that led to the opening goal. Now, on the ball is an area we're looking for Craig to improve here, one that I think we should be focusing on. I think it's the whole reason why the club sent him out on loan in the first place. Also, Doncaster manager, when he first signed Craig, says, I need to add more goals and more assists to his game, and he's definitely doing that since his low move performances. Moving on to another fellow country of mine, and that is Troy Parrott, who of course is on loan at Excelsior Rotterdam. Troy had a poor performance last week, and I hate to break it to you, but it's been the same again this week. Troy Parrott played 90 minutes in Excelsior's 2-1 loss to Vitesse on Sunday lunchtime. It was another quiet outing for Parrott, who did not have much influence on the game whatsoever. He only had 1 shot all game, despite Excelsior having 12 shots on the goal in the 90 minutes, completing 62% of his passes. Parrott is having a dip in form the last few weeks since the links for potential moves ahead of the summer window. Parrott has spoken about his desire to make the grade and make the cut at Tottenham. However, he's going to have to be a lot better than this and bring a lot more consistency to his performances if he wants to be given that opportunity. Moving on to Joe Rodon, who played 90 minutes as Leeds beat Leicester 3-1 on Friday night and looked very nervy throughout, with a lot of Leeds fans saying it was Rodon's worst performance in a Leeds shirt. Here was the assessment of Leeds live player ratings, giving Rodon a match rating of 6, saying, by far his most difficult performance of the season. Leicester, for obvious reasons, were always going to ask more questions than anyone else, and Rodon was on the rack for much of the evening. Not all his own doing, as he had to cover a lot, but calmness on and off the ball wasn't there. Been a real good loan move for Joe Rodon. He's garnering a lot of interest for his performances at Leeds. Hopefully he can continue that right throughout till the end of the season. He's now played the full match of Leeds United's last 23 games in the league and cup, making 34 appearances so far this season with an overall minutes of 2,944 of football. Now, there were reports during the week that Tottenham have reportedly slapped the valuation of 20 million on Rodon's head. It's a huge fee for Joe Rodon, and it's one that I don't think Leeds are too happy about. However, they didn't instruct a first option buy clause in the contract to Joe Rodon, so now they're at our mercy. They have to try and go and negotiate with Daniel Levy. My guess is might take 15 for him. It's whether Leeds want to stump that up or not. And then moving on to Japhet Tanganga, who actually had the best week this week out of all our loanees, and he played 90 minutes and scored his first Millwall goal and played a huge role in Millwall's 2-1 away win against Southampton. Tanganga gave Millwall the lead 5 minutes in when he bravely bet on Russian Irish goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu to the ball and looped the header over the goalkeeper into an empty net. It was a really brave piece by Tanganga. It's one of them, you always fancy the goalkeeper, and he just didn't back down and got his rewards. And then moments later, Tanganga headed the ball off the line down the other end to keep Millwall in the lead. And it was absolute great anticipation from the guy, realising the danger, sniffing it out, getting himself back on the line to head it over the bar and clear it away. As per Sofa score, Tanganga was the highest rated player on the pitch with an 8.4 rating, making 14 clearances, 2 blocks, 1 interception, 2 tackles, and winning 2 of his 3 ground duels and 2 of his 4 aerial duels. A really good performance from Tanganga, and hopefully something he can build off to give himself a bit of momentum, and something Millwall really needed to try and help their case of beating the drop. Now, just quick fire to see how some of the other players got on out on loan this weekend. Ndombele, of course, was not part of Galatasaray's squad in their 4-1 defeat in the Europa League on Thursday. But also Galatasaray Mandra coming in for a lot of pressure and a lot of heat from the Turkish press on his persistence to persist with someone like Tanganga Ndombele, with many of them saying if that was Besiktas, his contract would be ripped up. Also, Jed Spence came off the bench for a 12-minute cameo in Genoa's 2-0 win over Udinese on Saturday. Spence has been on the bench the last 3 games after initially being thrown straight into action, getting praise for his performances. Some would wonder, is his disciplinary issues coming back to haunt him again here? And then Aleo Feliz, and this is why the scout report is late, is because I was waiting for his game with Real Madrid to finish last night, but he did only feature for 15 minutes. I think he only got about 5 touches of the ball. Really struggled to have any impact on the game, which was to be expected. Let's not forget, he's only coming back from a knee injury, but also Sevilla are fighting relegation. Madrid would have had the majority of the ball there. But guys, let's move on to my correspondent out in Poland, and that is Michael. Let's find out how Luka Vuskovic has got on.
Hello guys, Michael here. Dave asked me to do a little bit of a roundup with our boy Luka Vuskovic. I do realize most of you don't have access or even don't want to watch the Polish league. But trust me, I don't want to do it either because the level is so bad. But for you, I will do it. I watched the past 2 games of his, and maybe before I get to summarizing his performance, I would like to give you a bit of context about the Polish league, if Dave doesn't mind. Basically, what you have to know about the Polish league is that it's really not that good especially compared to the top leagues like the English, Spanish, German league, right? If I were to give you an honest assessment, I think the best teams in Poland are comparable to mid-table championship teams, I would say, maybe. And the lower level Polish teams in the Ekstraklasa, which is the top flight of Poland, are maybe like a League One, top of League One, bottom of Championship teams, right? And Radomiak, which is the team that Vuskovic is in, is around like a mid-table mediocrity. I would call them maybe like a Crystal Palace of old, always finishing 12, 14, something like that, right? So basically, before Vuskovic came, they were the definition of mid-table mediocrity. They had 0 goal difference, exactly in the middle of the pack. And somehow, some way, when Vuskovic came, I don't know what happened with them, honestly. Like the 2 games that Vuskovic featured in were both a complete drubbings of Radomiak. They lost one game 6-0 and the other game they lost 4-0. In the first game, the 6-0 one of Radomiak's players got sent off in the second minute and they just collapsed. And Vuskovic came on in this around 65th minute, if I recall correctly, when the game was already 5-0 and the game was done basically by that point. And to add a cherry on top, another teammate of his got sent off. So basically they finished the game with 6 people and they conceded only one more after Vuskovic came. So basically there is nothing to say about that game. But the other game, the one that they lost 4-0, they lost to one of the better teams in the league, which are currently, if my mind serves me correctly, they are 4th. And they are a really like heavily attacking focused team. And they were holding on. Vukovic started that game. And they conceded 1 goal in around 20th minute, and then another mad thing happened, which was Radomiak's goalkeeper got sent off for quite like a questionable challenge, questionable in terms of getting red carded for. So basically, they were against it yet again, right? And our boy Vuskovic, he looked really good, even though up again, their backs were up against the wall and they had to cling on. They lost 4-0, but none of the goals were Vuskovic's fault, in my humble, slightly biased opinion. But with Vuskovic himself, right, Radomiak plays a back 4 system and he plays as a left-sided center back, even though he is right-footed. And that may be because one of the things I noticed when I was watching him was that even though he's right-footed, a lot of stuff he does with his left. He's really comfortable with both feet, and he pretty much in all circumstances that he can, he receives the ball with his left and passes with his right, which was kind of surprising. And one thing to look out for, the fact that he is really suitable for both sides of the center back pairing. In that game, he had around 6 clearances. He cut through a lot of passes. When the opposition was exchanging ball in front of their penalty box, he split through a couple of passes. He had 70% pass completion rate with 21 out of 30 passes completed. But I wouldn't necessarily look much into it because, as I said, their backs were against the wall and they had to defend pretty much for the whole game. He had, I think, 2 or 3 1v1s against the winger. And only in one of them, the winger got a shot off directly at the keeper. In other 2 circumstances, Vuskovic clipped the ball. And that's basically it. They were really struggling in that game. But one thing I have to say, he's huge for his age. I think he's like 6'3", and it shows. He's physically dominant. He's physically really, really strong. He's amazing in the air. I think all of the heading challenges he had, he won. So that's basically it, right? Radomiak played on Monday, 26th. But as far as I know, Dave does those videos on Monday. So I will keep you updated with his performance on Monday in the next update that David does, right? So that's basically it. He looks promising so far, but I would really like to see Radomiak play a normal game because, as I said, the previous 2 that they played were really just crazy, right? So yeah, I hope that the game on Monday will be just a casual, 11v11, not 10v11 or 9v11. Those just crazy games, right? So I'll keep an eye on him. Big up, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you, David, for giving me this opportunity, guys.
Absolutely brilliant from Michael. Make sure you give him a lot of praise in the comment section below. And if there is anyone out there from Sweden that wants to do one on Bergvall every single week, please let me know in the comment section below, or make it aware it's something that you want to do to me, and we'll sort something out from there. That's it from me. Hopefully you have enjoyed this loan report. Please let me know in the comment section below your thoughts, like you always do. It's absolutely brilliant, something for me to respond to. But guys, go and have a great day. As always, come on you Spurs. In the mighty hands we trust, we never stop.